Well, welcome everyone to the Roland's Reviews YouTube channel. Today, I wanted to talk to you about Dr. King and, of course, his accomplishments. We know we're honoring his birthday now. And I wanted to share some of my favorite Dr. King quotes. If you looked at some prior videos, you know I went to the Nonviolence Center in Georgia. I went to his home place. I went to the Lorraine Motel where he was assassinated. And throughout my travels, I've collected several of his books. I'm an avid reader. I love reading. So here's another book. Of course, I haven't had time to read them all, but I wanted to share some of my favorite Dr. King quotes. Some you've heard of, I'm sure. And there are too many. I don't have time, obviously, to sit here and read them all. But I'm just going to read some of my personal favorites, okay? In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. That's always, stuck out to me a bit. All right. Also, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? How you doing, Reese? I think, and Lucinda, how you doing? I think that we all could, learn a lot and try to help other people, especially in today's society where it's me, 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 me. Okay. Another personal favorite is, if a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. And that's something, how you doing, Rhonda? That's also something that I try to share with my students. Okay, we have another guest joining the stream. Okay, and so another personal favorite is, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So we can't just be consumed with what's going on with us personally. So we can't look at one group of people and say, oh, that's going on with them, because we're part of the human race as well. Also, never forget that everything Hitler did in Germany was legal. And I think if we, keep that mindset, that perspective, that will help us to help our brothers who are also suffering, okay? Because everything they did was legal. So we can't say, well, follow all the laws. Those laws were unjust. We know that, okay? Also another, and if you want to know, again, those of you who are just joining the stream, please share the stream out, folks. Please like the video so that it will trigger the YouTube logarithm so that more people will come and join us. Again, I have too many favorite quotes, but I'm just giving you just a few here. And so another personal favorite is, a riot is the language of the unheard. And that's a very true statement. Of course, riots have taken on sort of a different meaning since Dr. King was with us, okay? Another personal favorite of mine is, one of the greatest casualties of the war in Vietnam is the Great Society shot down on the battlefield of Vietnam. We know Dr. King received a lot of criticism. They didn't want him to say anything about the Vietnam War. And also, we know this one. We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. And that's what I often share with people, because divide and conquer has been used since the beginning of time. So we have some people here that want to share some of their experiences. So let's welcome our guests. Hopefully, their volume is up. Can we? All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right. I will continue going. There we go. I don't know who wants. If Brian Williams wants to speak first. I think you said you had something that you needed to do. So please feel free to go ahead and start talking about some of your experiences, all right, so far as the civil rights movement was concerned. I want you to discuss any forms of civil disobedience that you participated in as well. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. All right.
Well, my experience is more of from a reader.
There we go. All right. Are we ready, folks?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Where are my guests? Are they?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
All right.
I'm here.
The veteran.
All right. How you doing, Rhonda? Reese Cup.
Man, can you hear me?
Okay. Brian Williams, would you like to go ahead and
do you hear me?
Talk?
Sure. I can start off. I mean, as usual.
Okay.
I can hear you clearly. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. I don't know what you want me to start off at, but I'll just start talking about.
Okay. Mr. Williams, would you like to go ahead and start with us? I know you have something else that you need to do.
Well, I have an hour.
So just if you will, tell us about, any forms of civil disobedience that you were involved in. What are your thoughts on Dr. King? Have we, fulfilled his dream, or do we still have work that we need to continue? So we're going to start with Mr. Brian Williams. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, well, as you stated, I'm Brian Williams. I haven't really participated in any civil disobedience. My platform, the platform I use, is basically I believe, is to extend the dream. The dream hasn't been fulfilled because due to humanity, it'll never be fulfilled. It'll just be something we strive for: communal excellence, brotherhoods amongst people, and things of that nature. So it's like perfection. You'll never achieve perfection. You can only strive for, and excellence is the goal, right?
Right.
So when you look at people like Dr. King, one of the things I admire about him the most, we have his nonviolent stance and his insistence on persistence. Basically, he never gave up on anything.
That's right.
What I really appreciated about him, and something that is lost in the community today, in my personal opinion, is the fact that no matter how many shots people took at him, he never lashed back out. I think that's something that's rarely talked about or never talked about. People that I hold in high esteem, they've taken the shots at the great ancestor, Dr. Malcolm X, or the great ancestor at the time he was Stokely Carmichael, but he transitioned into a different name, which is Kwame Ture, and a vast amount of others. They took shots at him publicly. They made mockery of what he was doing with the nonviolent stance, but he never publicly said anything negative about them. And it's an example that we all should take and say, hey, no matter what differences we have with each other, we should be able to have a conversation with each other. Like if I have an issue with you, I should be able to get on the phone and call you and say, hey, Rosalind, this is the issue I have with you, instead of publicly announcing what the problem is, because that won't get the thing resolved. A conversation between me and you will. So that's something that I admire even more than all the accomplishments. He refused to tear down a fellow Black man or a woman publicly, rather than getting on the phone with them or meeting with them face to face and discussing what the problem is.
Okay, and that I agree with everything that you stated. Now, honestly, we all know ourselves. Now, do you think, had you been a part of the movement with Dr. King, because he was strictly nonviolence, do you think that you could have adhered to that rule?
Well, no, I don't think I could have, but You also have to look at situations where you had the deacons of defense. They were the defenders of Dr. King, and they are a group of men that go unheralded. So it's not that Dr. King wouldn't fight back or didn't fight back. It's just he had a philosophy of nonviolence. And when you have a philosophy of nonviolence, you have to adhere to it. That's not saying that Dr. King, like, he didn't shun the deacons of defense. They were right there lockstep with them. But most people don't know that they were there. They were the unseen hand, so to speak.
Right.
So I would probably be along the factions of the deacon of defense, or one of his cohorts, Stokely Carmichael. Kwame, most commonly known as Stokely Carmichael. He later on changed his name to Kwame Ture.
Right.
So I would probably be along those lines, but it takes some intestinal fortitude that is beyond belief to live a life the way the great Dr. King, our ancestor, great Dr. King, did.
Right. And I appreciate your honesty, because I looked at, I'm on YouTube frequently. I look at, Dr. King's position as opposed to, say, Malcolm X's position, which we know towards the end of Malcolm X's life, once he made his pilgrimage to Mecca, he sort of changed his mindset a bit, where he was more willing to be more inclusive, once he broke from the Nation of Islam. So I appreciate that honesty, because, some people, they're either, strictly Dr. Martin Luther King's camp, or strictly, Malcolm X's camp. So, and I think that, depending on the age group that you were in at that time, that determined as well, because obviously younger people, they're going to want to do, be with, Malcolm X. Older people, they're going to stick to something that's a little bit safer, in their mindset. So, excellent point that you made.
One of the sad things about the whole situation is most people overall didn't like them. They only had a 40% approval rating overall. This is both gentlemen, whether it be Malcolm X or Dr. King. So they were known as nuisance throughout the community by and large.
Yes. So we look at them now, both as martyrs, but as you said, and as is happened in history a lot, people may love you when you're dead and gone, but when you're here and you're actually going through the motions, people, and you got to, a lot of people don't realize, a lot of Black people, they were just so used to being mistreated. They didn't want anyone rocking the boat. They had just accepted it.
That's the norm.
And right, as the norm. And, they were like fine with it. And then there were some people who were fed up, and they just said, no, enough is enough. We're American citizens. Why are we going over here fighting in other countries, and we don't even have rights for ourselves? That didn't make any sense to me, and it didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to them. And then, things started to change.
Almost definitely. And then you have to also, it's just a story that's been curated by the dominant society. And we often look at it through the point of view of them. And what we need to do is take a step back and read books like We Shoot Back, or read Rosa Parks' biography, whereas you're taught that Rosa Parks is this docile Black woman who just got fed up. But this is a woman who, in her biography, she speaks about how if the Klan got riled up, her grandfather would sit in the front room of their home with weapons on his lap. And he would say, hey, if the Klan come in here, I'm gonna kill as many as I can. And she would sit at his feet, because according to her, I don't want to hear about what you did. I want to see it. And that's another misnomer that is known throughout the community, or told, basically it's curated for the community, that we were just this docile group of people that just accepted this brutalization and violence, and it's just not the case.
That's not the exact. I'm glad you brought that up. Very true statement. Mr. Leslie Joyner, what would you like to add? How you doing, Wake Up Time? So far as, what are your thoughts so far as the civil rights movement? Were you involved in any acts of civil disobedience? And, how did, everything that Dr. King, everything he did, how did that impact your life positively?
In my time when Dr. King was very, very strong during the 60s, and I was coming up well, I was out of the service at that time. Well, I applaud my coworkers in the post office because we took up money for the cause.
Right.
We contributed financially. I didn't do anything really physically, but like I said, we contributed financially. My coworkers in the post office in Freeport.
Right.
Um, I started to think more about my service time during the 60s after I was out,
Right.
how I was treated. And I spent most of my service time in Europe, in Germany,
Right.
and how I was treated just like an ordinary person
Right.
and the German society uh, and in service.
Okay.
And when I came back to the United States in 1956, I still had to ride on the back of the bus.
Wow.
I had to, I worked my military MOS. I was in supply. We supplied the whole Western Area Command of Germany. And all those supplies went through me. Every company or battalion or whatever, the final supply chain, it came through me.
Right.
And I came back here. I applied for a job at the Navy Yard in Philadelphia. I wasn't qualified.
Wow.
Worked 2 years in military supply. I wasn't qualified. And it started me to think, well, what the heck am I over there, if necessary, to pick up arms and defend this country? For what?
Right.
And for who?
Yeah.
And now I know the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say.
So did you feel, Mr. Joyner, did you feel, and this happened a lot when African Americans came back from World War I, World War II. So when you got back from Germany, and like I said, you served in your country, did that change your whole perspective on I'm not going to take this anymore?
It did, yes, it really did. I didn't hate anyone because I knew it wasn't anyone on my level. It wasn't their fault. It was the system. And now as I grow older, I know it's in the DNA of the system. So I had more or less, if you have an obstacle, you go over it, under it, around it. So I had to go. I had several ways I could go around to survive. Are you there? Hello?
On to review.
Oh, I don't know what happened to her. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, okay, she's on. I don't know what happened to her. The what?
The March.
The March. Yeah, yeah. Did you are you back? Hello, you're back? I can't. I see her picture, but I can't get her voice. Are you still there, sir?
Yeah, I'm still here, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, yeah. As I was saying, one of the phrases that stands out with me is Dr. King said, "You don't have to eat the same food, but you can sit at the same table."
Indeed.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You don't have to eat chitlins with me, or you can eat steak, but you can still sit at the same table.
Exactly.
And I think, I don't know of your experiences, but and then my experiences, I'm 85. I've known food to bring people together.
Indeed. Food and music.
Yeah, I don't know where have you ever experienced that?
Well, I dealt with it slightly. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
it's a section in Chicago called Bridgeport, and when I
Mm,
was younger, you could be in Bridgeport after dark.
okay.
And it really just started to change around, I want to say 1995. It's
Yeah,
more
okay.
integrated community, but you still get terrible stares when you go in that portion of Chicago.
Yeah.
I've been over there as recently as 3 years ago and went into a sandwich shop. And me and a couple of my buddies, we were coming from a church event, right?
Yeah.
And we had on our church clothes.
Yeah.
And we stopped in this place to get us some sandwiches, and we sat down to eat. And 10 minutes later, you had maybe 11 Irishmen that just sat across from us and watched us eat.
Staring at you.
Yeah, to ensure that once we completed our meals, we would have to leave. And this is in this century. So it's been very little. And because Chicago is one of the most segregated cities in the United States of America, you deal with it from time to time. I haven't had the severity that you have had. I'm not even going to try to compare my life to yours because I know you've seen far more heinous acts than I have. But what I will do is know that I acknowledge those things because my father and my mother were part of the movement. They both were former members of the Black Panther Party of self-defense. And I've had a lot, my family itself. The reason I'm really here in Chicago is due to discrimination, abject violence, and oppression. My grandmother was there was an attempt to rape my great grandmother, my father's grandmother.
Yeah.
And my uncle Willie, my uncle Bump, and my granddad physically accosted the man.
Yeah.
And be on the first thing smoking out of Tuskegee, Alabama.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's how my dad's family ended up here.
Yeah, migrated to Chicago. Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir. And then even before then, my dad was born in Lakeland, Florida.
Okay.
My granddad, his father, is from, I don't know the town in Georgia, but it was attacked by white people.
Right.
And my grandfather had been on his own since age 7. And then he went to Tuskegee, met my grandmother, and then they went to Florida, and then they end up going back to Tuskegee, and then that's how we ended up in Chicago. So yes, sir. I have a storied history.
Yeah,
with oppression and things of that nature. So I'm very familiar with the inequality and injustice that goes on in the United States of America, and that's pretty much what my show is about.
This is the thing about the critical racial theory.
Yes, sir.
Knowledge is power.
Yes, sir.
Knowledge is power, and the powers to be does not want you to know where you came from, your roots, and like you were telling me now, they don't want you to know our children to know that because that's power.
Yes, sir.
Knowledge is power.
Yes.
And you have an educator in front of you. She can't teach that.
Yes, sir.
But Italian history, Irish history, all of those nationalities, all other histories can be or was taught.
Yes, sir.
Or is being taught. But your history can't be taught.
Yes, sir.
Because that gives that knowledge, that gives the kids knowledge, and that knowledge is power.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The thing that Malcolm X was teaching, and you don't remember, it was in the 60s, in the 70s, about having, remember, Oklahoma, the town that they burned down. They had their own banks and their own medical facilities. They own everything.
Yes, sir.
They own the whole town. They own their own 2 or 3 banks and their barbers and their medical facilities and every dentist and whatever.
Yes, sir.
burnt the town down because they had power.
Yes, sir.
And when Malcolm X was, you read history,
Yes, sir.
he's teaching this in the 60s. Um, in the 60s, oh, he don't know what he's talking about. I was living in New York at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This before the educator was born.
Mm-hmm.
He don't know that. He don't know what he's talking about, and blah 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 blah. But see, he was teaching power,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the power killed him
Yes, sir.
Right.
because he was teaching his people too much.
Yes, sir.
You know, So I've lived through that. I know. You know, they killed him. Yeah, the CIA killed him.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And use the flunkies and use us as flunkies to do it.
Indeed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Same thing with Malcolm X. Same thing.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, Malcolm X.
Malcolm X, Dr. King, same thing.
Yeah.
This
I'm
is
sorry. I'm moving my phone around. I'm sorry. I'm getting off the camera and whatever. I'm used. I'm not used to being on camera. So
no problem.
Yeah.
One of the things, it's a video clip that's on YouTube now, and you can Google it by saying "Angry Dr. King," right?
Right.
Yeah.
What it does is shows Dr. King 2 days before his assassination, and he's speaking about the land grants that white people receive and education of how to farm the land. And he ends the speech with, "And in 2 days we'll be in DC and we want our check." And see, that's the Dr. King that people don't speak about. It's
exactly.
Also the original March on Washington is in 1956. Another march that the great Dr. Martin Luther King led, and you never hear about that.
You never hear about that one. No.
It's kind of like with Jesus. You only hear about the nice guy and the rubbing of the feet.
Right.
But got on it. Right. You don't hear about when he went into the church and started turning over tables. And see, Dr. King was not docile. Allow me to be he understood that if they saw us fighting on television, that it would be misconstrued as they do today on television. That's the whole purpose of the nonviolent movement, because even if you're the most staunch conservative, as they using today's terminology, they'll be able to misconstrue what's happening. So he was able to accept the violence, and but it just goes back to the quote the sister Rosalind was just making. She mentioned all those quotes. One of the most famous quotes that she didn't mention was at the end of his life when he was talking to Harry Belafonte, and he stated that, "I'm afraid that I've integrated my people into a burning house."
That part.
That's
and a lot of people, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes, ma'am.
Because a lot, as you can see, and again, most people, they don't bother to read or do any research. And towards the end of Dr. King's life, he was doing a lot of soul searching.
Indeed.
And if you look at where we are today, education-wise, income-wise, he realized, oops, but you have to give him, we have to give him credit. He was trying to improve, our situation, which he did. He just didn't know that, the ramifications. If you look at, if you compare the amount of, Black-owned businesses prior to desegregation, it's astounding. So the only businesses really that stayed were what? Funeral homes, the barber shops, the beauty parlors. Everything else, we were like, oh, we can go here, we can go there. We stopped patronizing all the other businesses.
This is what I was saying before about Malcolm X. If you have all the Black businesses with pools and like you say, have your own funeral home, barber shops, butcher shops, beauty parlor, whatever, et cetera, own banks and whatever. Money gets attention. Money is power. Money gets attention. If the Blacks own their own, that would be a wake up call. Wouldn't you say so?
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah.
then, the sad part is if you go to these stores, and just from listening to you, Mr. Williams, you know where I'm going with this. I mean, I'm on YouTube, every day researching, and I'm going back, particularly because I have a lot of relatives that live in New York, and they think, New York is this wonderful place. Mr. Williams, if you'll check out some of my videos, that's why I'm focusing a lot on the North, because everyone thinks that's the promised land, and it is not. And if you look at everything Dr. King, withstood in Mississippi and in Alabama, we thought that was the worst. Mr. Williams, you know where I'm going with this. He said Chicago was the worst. He said Chicago was the worst. And I don't know about you. I would rather have an enemy that's telling me exactly how they feel than someone who's smiling and then stabbing me. And that's what you got in the North. They couldn't stand you either.
Exactly.
So
listen, my first day on the railroad, this 8-foot gorilla told me he didn't like my hat. I don't like your color. I don't like it, and I don't like you.
Wow.
Listen, but he said, but you're not here for me to like that. You're here to work. That's what he said. The first day.
Right.
Yeah. He told me that at least he was straight up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
That's better to me.
Yeah. So you know where a person is coming from day one. And he had no choice. He couldn't run me away,
right?
Because this was during the time that they had a class action suit. They had to hire me. Well, I had to pass the test and all that, but
oh yeah,
but he didn't have any choice.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, and Brian, Mr. Williams,
Brian is fine.
Wow.
Brian is fine.
Okay, Brian. Yeah, I have really delved into that. As you can look, as Dr. King got near the end of his life, he was doing a lot of soul searching and changes. And Malcolm X was, I look at, I've seen just about all of Malcolm X's speeches. I've seen just about all of Dr. King's speeches. And, for us to be graced with the both of them and compared to what we have now, there is no comparison.
No, you can't.
Time to wake up time said posed a question, and it says how could you grow if the entire government is consistently creating laws and barriers to your progress and all? Yeah, it's easy to grow that way. You know what? In my personal opinion, the way you grow with a situation like that, when you clearly know the government is against you, and what you have to do is just understand galvanization is the key. Yeah. Like we need to talk to gentlemen like Mr. Jones? I can't see his name.
John Joyner.
We need to talk to Mr. Joyner. We need to sit at the feet of Mr. Joyners of the world, because he's seen both ends of it. He's seen it when we couldn't go across the street and deal with the other cultures. And now that we're across the street, I believe personally, in 1968 with the assassination of Dr. King, they used his dream almost like an attack dog. They put it up there. They gave you a portion of the dream, integration. And instead of us saying we have the right to do what we want to do, we took it on as that's what we should do. Well, since I can go over there now, I'm going over there. We should just stay on our side of the street. And what we do, if we start to stay on our side of the street, subscribing to this channel and supporting the sister right here, what we do is put ourselves in a position of success. We are the creators of the universe, and right. I don't mean in the spiritual realm. I mean, we created rock and roll, blues. We create conversation. We create style. We created the remote control. A Black woman created this very internet that we're on. The GPS that you're going to use to get where you need to go when a Black woman created that. So we are the creators. Therefore, if you understand your position as a creator, What you do is continue to create and make people come to you. At that point, you have the power. It don't make a difference what the law.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You succeed in spite of, and that's what I tell my students, because you can't tell me. And anytime I hear them complaining, I light into them, and let me tell you why. Brian, when you have time, if you'll view some of my videos,
I just subscribed.
Thank you, sir. I will return in kind. You can't tell me, with all the resources that you have available to you today, go back 100 years and look at how we were succeed. I tell my students, I don't want to hear about, you're being discriminated against and this and that. Look at these people, my heroes, 100 years ago and 75 years ago. I mean, these are people who really withstood and who really went through. I don't want to hear, and I tell my students, I don't want to hear, there are no excuses. So in spite of laws that may be wrong, you can rise. There are too many programs and resources. There is no excuse for you to fail today in America unless you just do not try. I tell my students that. I know they're sick of it. It's a broken record. But are things equal? No, they're not. But if we made it during Jim Crow, what is our excuse now?
I'll tell you, I'll give you my opinion on what the excuse is. We've only been, what I call is a term that I use called trauma porn.
Right.
We've only been shown the worst. We get at the Tulsa massacre. We only told that they burned it down. We don't tell, like Mr. Joyner here, he just told us about the 8 restaurants. Well, it was 4 restaurants, 3 movie theaters, 2 hospitals, an airport. We don't know what they burned down. We just know they burned down. We must inform our young people of what was there. Something simple like a corner store. The average corner store makes about $2,500 a day. Now multiply that by 20 days. Let's just say 5 days a week. Or just say 6 days a week. Multiply that by 12 months. You're talking about $350,000, $400,000 a year.
Yeah.
You take that, let's just cut that in half to $180,000 a year. Who couldn't survive off $180,000? If you put $180,000 into your business, $180,000 into your pocket, in 10 years, you're a millionaire.
Exactly.
But we consistently say, I don't want to go work for Mr. Joyner. I want to work for YouTube. I want to work for Amazon. I want to work for these people. Mr. Joyner's going to take care of me, though. Because, see, I'm going to get 2 things from Mr. Joyner. I'm going to get a paycheck, and I'm going to get the wisdom that Mr. Joyner has.
Exactly.
And paycheck.
We don't respect. That's worth the information. If we just let Mr. Joyner host this show, the information that we can extract from him is invaluable. Mbate Bhat has this saying, every time one of our elders transition, it's like a library burning down. Mr. Joyner is a library, but we don't take the time to listen to our elders because we go, oh, well, see, it ain't like that anymore. But it is like that. Just because you ain't shoot me, if you don't hang me from a rope and set me on fire, but you shoot me in my back and everybody still go home, I'm dead either way.
How you doing, B Sugar? Exactly. And so, and again, and this is what I tell people, instead of complaining about the poor treatment that you're receiving, and I have a really big problem with this, quit complaining about how poorly people who own businesses in your communities who do not live there, but you keep patronizing these same people. And you will not stop because you have to have, your hair and all these other things. You continue because their prices may be a little bit cheaper. You continue to patronize their stores of people do not like you, but you're in there every day. So quit complaining about the poor treatment. Brian, you remember, I was looking at a video the other day. It happened in the 80s. You remember, I think it was out there in California, that young lady, 13 years old.
Natasha Harmon.
Yes, accused of stealing some orange juice, which she did not do, was shot in the back of the head, I think, and nothing ever happened. So, but you still, if I know how someone feels about me, you can best believe I'm not patronizing them and they're not going to receive any money from me.
Not at all.
That's not how it goes with me. So you're so caught up in aesthetics. Stop complaining to me about how badly you're being treated. If you stop giving your money to people in your community who don't support you, and by the way, you go back to a neighborhood, lots of times it's crime infested. When they lock those stores up at night, they're going back to a very nice home in suburbia. All thanks to you.
You know what? I would like to
interject. The thing is, we have our Black beauty queens patronizing these cheap beauty, so-called beauty stores with their Caucasian hair and all this other junk that's supporting these people. And
right,
you and get in that rear end injections, and you see you can't tell them any different, you know,
because it's all about aesthetics.
This is not knowing where you came from and from whom you came from, you know. It's all a media bliss. I tell my nieces and all over, you look good without that junk. And my wife tells me, you shouldn't see, you should go. If you look good, you look good. If you don't, without all the Caucasian hair and then earrings hanging down to your rear end and your rear end looking like a cow's behind, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
This is not looking good to me. You know, put some lard on your hair and brush it and put a little lotion on your face and go on about your business. If a man cares for you that way, he's not going to doubly care for you all made up with Caucasian junk on you.
Because that's not who you are anyway. And when you take all that stuff off, they're like, who are you?
Yeah.
So like you said, the point is you know, self-love, because people don't know who they are. So they're looking at a Euro style definition of beauty. And I've never, and I'm not condemning anyone, but I you know, my hair is my hair, and I don't go adding extensions or anything like that.
Look back at your own beauty culture.
So what have we all been told from day one? You know, that everything associated with Africa is negative. It's bad.
Yeah. So okay.
But the sad part is, again, people won't read.
But that comes from ignorance, not knowing. You know.
And this is no joke. I have students sometimes when I give an assignment, if it requires reading, they would just, I'll take a 0. They don't want to read. So if you don't read, you will be waylaid, way behind, misled.
Yeah.
You know, it's sad. And I don't understand that because I've always been an avid reader. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to retirement one day where I can sit back and read as much as I would like to. Obviously, I'm still working. I don't have the time. I still have a lot of books and I read, you know, when I can, but I don't understand that mentality because I've been reading books as long as I could read, and I love them. And so I don't understand that mentality at all. And so it is sad. If you look at, speaking in terms of education, we know the negative effect that, particularly in the large, you know, metropolitan cities. Oh my God, where the teachers unions pretty much run, you know, that. But you know, the focus is supposed to be on education for the child, but it's not. It's on everything else. You want to add to that, Brian?
We can get around that too. We see. Okay. This is a beautiful thing about being Black. They show you all the things that they perceive as a negative, right?
Right.
And even like, and this is, please don't take this as a shot, please. Even when you said crime infested neighborhoods, I grew up in one of the worst neighborhoods statistically in the United States of America, Cabrini Green Projects. I live right down the street. I live what I always refer to as on the tracks. People say you live on the other side of the tracks. I live on the tracks. If I walked out my house and I went right, I walked a quarter mile, I was in Cabrini Green Projects. If I went left, it was Millionaires. I could look out my window and know who was in the car just by the model. Maserati, Ferrari, Benz going this way, BMW, Chevy, things of that nature going that way. It was the brothers, right? So when we make these statements, crime-infested neighborhoods, I think we should change that terminology because, okay, even though I live down the street from Cabrini Green, Cabrini Green is not a housing development that's filled with criminals. 99% of the people that were in Cabrini Green got up and went to work every day. 99% of the people that lived in my neighborhood, but what we would do, what we allow the media, the mainstream media, and the imagery that's put in front of us is to take 12, maybe 25 people. They're in the gang. It's 5,000 people that live in this neighborhood. 25 of these people in the gang, and we'll let them say that's a bad neighborhood. No, it's bad 25 dudes because it's a couple thousand people just got in from work. It's a couple thousand people putting on their shirt to go to work. It was a couple thousand people laying down after a long day at work.
Wow.
We allow that 25 knuckleheads that define who we are. Another thing, we always been a spiritual group of people, right? Most of us go to church. Well, this is what we got to start doing. When we get to church, pastor, we're going to be here for Wednesday's Bible study. Yes, we'll be here. But Saturday, you need to start teaching history. You need to have one of these teachers that's a member of our church teach us some history so then we can go home and teach to our children and then so forth and so on. I believe that's why reading isn't cool because we don't focus on it. And once you start, reading wasn't cool to me. I was the emperor of all class clowns. I would have been, you would have known my mama's name. You a teacher, you'd have known my mama's phone number. But the reason it was that way is because, for one, I was ahead of the curve because I had 5 or 6 year older sisters, and I got on their nerves. Tell me about this. Tell me about this. What's this? What's this? So they taught me how to read in Head Start.
Oh, wow.
I could get out of their face. So when I got to school and I'm reading, I'm reading nothing but white guys, I'm like, I don't read this.
And
I learning it? I don't care. I can remember getting about 1,000 whippings in 4th grade because anytime social studies came around, and Miss Bullock taught about white folks, I was like, whatever, I ain't doing that. And she would call my mother, I get beat down, come back to school. Well, you better call again. Because I don't care. But when Miss Johnson and the rest of these teachers teaching us about black folks, I was all in. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know that was a conscious decision to learn about what I want to learn about. But eventually my mother figured it out.
Right.
God rest her soul. And she started buying me. Everybody just caught on now. She bought me a comic book in 1977.
I'm down 5%.
But you said you grew up in the Cabrini Green
community
projects? Because I just looked at, and there are a couple of channels I need to turn you on to, Real Black and Hezekiah Newz. I just looked at, and they have all kinds of documentaries, and I just looked at a documentary on the Robert Taylor homes, the Cabrini Green projects as well. And so very, very interesting.
You would be, if you just go by the news reports, you think, oh, it's chaotic over there. Do you know every year, those same people that I grew up with from the Cabrini Green area, that the whole world will tell you this is the worst place in the world to live in. You know, we throw 3 cookouts a year. All of them gang infested, and we've never had one incident of violence.
They're not going to tell about that.
They don't tell you about that. So we have to start creating our own history.
Our own narratives,
Because once you tell your story, I'm telling you, Mr. Joyner, I guarantee you, we let Mr. Joyner start talking, everybody in this chat room, miles will hit the bottom of their desk.
Right.
Yeah. Telling my experiences. Wow.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe. It was hectic.
Right. And like you, Brian, like you said earlier, and this is me being an educator, you know, it's just sad. Now, you were talking about your time growing up, Brian, and, you know, there was a time when parents would sit down, go over the lesson with their children, whereas now no one has time. They think that we as educators, it's all our job. No, the old African proverb, it takes a village. It does. I cannot do it alone. And you would be surprised. This is what angers me as an educator. You could contact parents and tell them, you know, what their child's deficiencies are and what they need to do to correct it. But they don't have time. They don't have time to help their child. It's all supposed to be on us. And that's why we're lagging behind. And with this, you know, when the pandemic hit, you know, we already know about the achievement gap. It widened even more because people won't take time with their own children to sit down. They don't have time for their own children. They put a phone or a tablet in their hands so they don't have to be bothered with their own children. And then we wonder why the achievement gap is what it is. We can't do it alone.
If that's the case, if we're going to use that African proverb, then we're going to have to ignore those parents and just take care of the children. We're going to have to start getting these pastors. We're going to have to start going to city council meetings. We're going to have to go to school board meetings because, the system is designed to do this. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow on my show about how it's this dude at city council in Texas literally said the reason this kid's dropping out is because we got black teachers.
Wow.
Which is an utter and ridiculous lie because our kids are literally in school translating because they got white people talking to them and they got to that's the genius of our children, though. Our children are pure genius because they can absorb their language, convert it into our language, and then regurgitate it back into your language. That's why even as the class clown,
right,
I was a B student because my life was in jeopardy. My mom would beat me to death.
That's what we need more of.
But I remember I got straight C's one semester. It was really because I didn't feel like doing nothing. And all my homies called in the house. Hey, Brian, help me with math. Brian, help me with this. Brian, help me. And I'm on the phone for like 3 hours one night. And my mother picked up the other end, and she's hearing me describe math to some of my homies. The homie I'm thinking of is Taryn Alexander right now. This is 6th grade. And my mother was like, Terry, how Brian helping you? And he got a C. And he was like, oh, he know how to do this stuff. He helped me in class all the time. See, we learn more from our peers than we learn from teachers and our parents. Because the teacher's saying one thing and you don't get it. And your boy turned next to you, go, Brian, what she mean? I got you. And then it moves forward. So what we're going to have to do is read. We're going to have to start utilizing brothers like Mr. Joyner. And then we're going to have to start making it imperative. See, you know what would be awesome if we did this like I said, at a church? We go get all the Mr. Joyners of the world at church.
Right.
Sit down those children and say, listen to what he been through.
Yeah.
And then everybody go, oh, wow.
Right. That's right.
And then that's
the way I maneuver through it.
Yes. See, we don't even know Mr. Joyner. Our young people don't know Mr. Joyner exists. I would have been one of those young people. It's a blessing and a curse. Thank God, though. But my dad would have been there because he was very active in the community. But my dad gets murdered by a cop. He dies 4 months. He gets hit in the head in 68 and 69. Has an aneurysm April 70. I'm born August 70. But now my granddad, he steps up. My uncles, they step up. Thank God. But so I remember sitting around my granddad and his friends, and Big Daddy and them used to say stuff to me, and it used to fly over my head like a jet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And now it hit you like a hammer.
Woo! I turned about 25, and everything Big Daddy was telling me was like, oh, but we don't even have that anymore.
Yeah.
And people always say, it's worse now. Look, the most murders in the city, like y'all hear about Chicago. Chicago is crazy. The most murders ever in the city of Chicago, 1972, 972. The second number is 1992, and that's 917. But y'all hearing about the news where it's 550, 400. One person murdered is too much, but you can see how it's been trickling down. But all you hear about is the horror of Chicago.
Yeah.
It's out.
Oh, yeah.
Some
and people don't look at the underlying factors either.
Exactly. Which is property devaluation. Because a lot of those murders y'all hear about is right down the street from Barack Obama's house.
That's I heard. I saw that on a video recently.
So now all of those houses around there have been purchased. They've pushed the black people into the suburbs, and all those dilapidated homes or those brownstones that have been left vacant. White people are buying them. They just put up a brand new grocery store over there. They just put a brand new Whole Food. Poor people can't afford Whole Food. So if Whole Food is sitting there, what does that mean? You feel. By the way, here's the irony in that.
Gentrification.
All of those homes, yes, indeed, are a mile and a half away from the beach.
Okay.
Gentrification. It's happening all over America.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is re-gentrification.
Capitalism.
Start re-entering these communities and redeveloping these communities, or move to the suburbs that they're vacating and develop on my own. And then we reinstitute what is the barter system. And what the barter system would allow you, like Sister Rosalind in the chat room, or you open up a grocery store. And then Brother Joyner here, he opens up a gas station. And I go in there, Brother Joyner, I'm kind of hurting this week. I get paid Friday. Can you give me $40 worth of gas? I'll give you 50 back when I get paid. Bam, he give me that. Sister Rosalind, I'm hurting on lunch this week. Can you give me 5 sandwiches? I'll be back and I'm gonna pay for 8.
That money stays right there in the community.
It's right in our community. But see, we so busy trying to live in a better neighborhood, not realizing the better neighborhoods, like the drug dealer Rick Ross. He used to play tennis with Jim Kelly.
Oh yeah.
In Compton. Muhammad Ali used to live right down the street from where I live right now. Sammy Davis Jr. had a house right down the street from where I live right now. The world-renowned sports reporter still lives down the street from me now, Scoop Jackson. Darlene Hill has a house down the street from me. This is right outside of the hood. See, we can live amongst each other, but they keep telling us we can't, or we ain't never gonna come together. But we can't. Guess what? Are we speaking Kiswahili? No, we're not, because we're speaking a language that we were brought in together to speak with. So we can come and speak this language, and then we can create our own language, which they call slang or jive. Hey man, embrace that language. You know why? Hey, when you walk into one of those Arab stores or one of those Asian stores, they start speaking their language. So if we can speak what people call Slav or slang or jive to each other, and just keep people on the outside, we scare the hell out of these people.
Oh yeah. And again, piggybacking off of what you've said. How you doing, Lucinda? There's so many things that we, what's that saying? The things that you can control. Okay.
The serenity prayer. Worry about the things that you control. Everything else, don't worry about.
And everything that you just stated, those are things within our control. But the mindset has to be changed. Because if you're like, oh, I can't do without this, I have to have my nails done. And I was on Instagram, and there were some young ladies on there talking about, they have to have this and that. So I'm like, with that mindset, and there was a young man who was saying, well, obviously you like being mistreated. And they were like, okay with it because they have to have these things done. And so how do you change that mindset? It's ingrained.
Hey, again, I'm gonna go back to the church. Jesus didn't come here for everybody. He said he didn't. I ain't here for everybody. I'm here for my people. And I'm gonna take the way I receive that as righteous people. If you down for the cause, you with us.
That's
if
right.
you need to go over there, stay your black behind over there.
Yeah, that's right.
Let them kick you in the behind. But as my grandfather used to say, go ahead, stand in front of the ass kicking machine. Here goes extra quarters. But don't complain, your ass is hurting.
Nope. Don't want to hear it.
So we need to let these people who need that over there. See, I think our biggest problem is we don't know how to circle the wagons like the cowboy movies. We want to get everybody in. But guess what? Jesus let everybody in, and some of them stabbed him in his back.
Right.
So, okay, because Judas was a politician. That's what, it goes back to your reading. Judas was a politician. He was trying to be down. And he thought Jesus was going to leave him to being the coolest guy in the world.
Right.
And he realized, oh, wait a minute. They over there got power. And Jesus said, you a sellout. And when he realized he was a sellout, instead of believing in the principles that Jesus taught about, and just apologizing, you cool, he went and killed himself.
Right.
So, if it's going to be Judas in the world, let them be. Let them be. Like, we need to have my man Finest Wine. We need to have you. We need to have my man Ready to Care. We need to get Lucinda together and say, hey, y'all, this is what we're going to do. And then it's going to be like a moth to a flame. We're going to attract some people. And there's some people that's going to stand by and wait. Just like the whole conversation about the great Dr. Martin Luther King. You ever notice that Dr. King, like I said, 60% of the community didn't like either one of them. Did either one of them, guess what? Did either one of them care?
Nope. No. They did. They did what they were placed on this earth to do.
Exactly. So we ain't worried about that. We gonna start shopping with each other. See, that's the whole purpose of my show.
And I'll give you a perfect example. So with my partner Finest Wine and myself, now he's doing YouTube intros. Well, before I started using him, I had been using an app called Fiverr. So again, right now, if you know someone who, performs a service, keep that in the community.
In the community. That's it.
Because most of the people on Fiverr are in India and all these other countries. So I would rather support an American,
a black
than
American.
Someone in another country.
Let's say a black American. Let's get comfortable saying
us. Right. And why not give him the money? He does a good job.
Amen.
I don't have to get someone from India.
There it is.
And again,
I'm working
word
on
of mouth.
Anyway. I ain't forgot, D.
Word of mouth. Once he, does work for you, you like it, you share with other people, other YouTube content creators.
Exactly.
And that way, we keep the money flowing, and that's helping that brother out.
Exactly. I mean, and see, that's the thing. It's enough money in our community to support whatever we want to do.
Have you seen that number? I forgot I forgot how many billions or trillions of dollars that we contribute to the U.S. economy every year. It's astounding.
4 trillion billion.
Yeah,
4 trillion.
Right.
$4 trillion. And just imagine, look, this name is inflammatory, and a lot of people may get triggered, but I want you to listen to the message, not the messenger. There's only a perfect message. There is no perfect messenger.
That's right.
Bill Cosby, once said, if you could get 1/2 of 1% of the population to support you, you'll be richer than you ever thought you would be. Now, see how let's just use the reckless number, which even though we know is more, 40 million black people. 1/2 of 1% is 400,000. If you have 400,000 people watch each video you put up, YouTube will run out of money to give you.
That's right.
So that's what we need to see. We keep focusing on the masses. Hey man, we don't need everybody because everybody ain't right. A lot of us want to be over there where the ice is cold, allegedly. some of us want to be over there where the girls are cuter, allegedly. Well, how about this? If the ice is colder, it's because we come from a place that's 85 degrees on the average. We don't need no ice.
That's right.
And just for the record, sisters, those Victorian dresses that they you see in them old movies, and they look like a little waterfall. That is an emulation of the black woman's behind, because they know their butts are flat as your back. So all that stuff and how they created their hair, that's the way y'all used to braid y'all hair up, and they wanted it to stick like y'all hair. And here it is, hundreds of years later, we trying to emulate. The dog is literally chasing its tail instead of barking, it's trying to wag. No.
Facts.
The blueprint is the sister on every level. On every level. Just in case, you know how a lot of sisters say, greetings, king. They don't even realize that in Africa, the Ashantis, one of the biggest warrior tribes in the history of the continent, the queen mothers decide who the king is. So when you say, hey, king, you've anointed him. And sisters, you ain't got to be light ain't right, dark ain't, none of that. We have all different flavors. We got every flavor in the rainbow. So you ain't got to feel bad about nothing. And brothers, hey, people look at that Bible and go, it's nothing but propaganda for the white culture. Well, I want y'all to understand this, that thing, love thy enemy. That's not about loving somebody that don't hate you. That means if me and Sister Rosalind right here get into an argument, we could get to yelling and screaming at each other. And when the show is over, she gonna hit in. You cool? Yeah, I'm cool. Okay, Brian, talk to you next time.
Exactly.
We adversaries for a moment. Once that conversation is over, we back being best friends.
Exactly. And we have to learn again to learn to agree to disagree. People, you know, we can disagree and still be friends. We don't have to have the same thought pattern.
Exactly.
And that's why I would like for us in the future, I love to conduct a panel where we're talking about some of these issues. As a matter of fact, I was invited, I have to speak on another panel about helping African-American parents, you know, maneuver through the remote learning situation. So I'll be doing that in the next week or so. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we have people and resources that we can reach out to. And again, you know, if you want to do something, you can. Mm-hmm. You just have to, you know, you get out and find out, you find the right people.
Yeah, indeed. I do a panel every Thursday.
Every Thursday?
Every Thursday. We've done one on money. We've done one on happiness. We've done one on community. I haven't suggested, Ray Camp is one of the people on my panel. He in your chat room right now. I haven't presented it to him, but okay. Him and our sister Charlotte, I'm gonna bring up marriage and see how they feel about it.
Okay.
But we do it I do a show on community empowerment called Build and Destroy every Tuesday at 6. And what I try to do is build up the community, destroy the lies and propaganda around the community. I do a show Thursday. It's called Rap Sessions. We just sitting around rapping about things. And then I do one, it's called Rapping with H-Rap. That's my pseudonym. Okay. And I talk to elders every Friday, or I talk to somebody in the community every Friday. And whether you were a drug dealer, drug user, whether you're a banker, work at McDonald's, whatever the case is, you have a story to share with us that will empower us. So I try to do that on Fridays. So basically, my goal in life is to uplift and enrich everybody in our community. And when we do that, it'll be easy. It is easy, easy, easy.
Yeah, each one teach one, right?
Amen. Amen.
You know, so, and that's how I try to live my life now. And I often tell my students, I don't know everything, but I know a lot from, you know, experience. And so I try to impart some of my knowledge, not just so far as the curriculum is concerned, but like I said, life in general.
Indeed.
Because even though you may have the title of educator, you're actually a counselor, and I do career. I help students get jobs. I try to help them to maintain employment. So, I wear several hats.
And as the whole panel was about, Dr. King, that is his dream, to have you, me, my brother from BS Street Network right there.
Right.
Everybody, Finest Wine, everybody has something to offer. God made no
Everyone
blank.
has something to offer.
It is nobody that walks the earth that's bad at everything.
That's right.
So you're good at one thing, even if you're the greatest liar in the world. Put those lies on a sheet of paper, and it's called a story.
That's right. A fable.
A fable, exactly. So we have to put ourselves in a position to uplift each other, galvanize each other. You want to live Dr. King's dream, make sure you help somebody today.
Yes, sir. And that was, what he was all about. And again, and I know we all fall short from time to time. Life happens. It does. But that's something, I try. I know that's an area I need improvement because, brother, when you get off from work, sometimes you're tired.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just don't feel like going that extra mile. You just, I'm pooped. I'm worn out. My situation with the pandemic, we have a lot of coworkers who are out, a lot of students out. So you're having to do more work than you normally have to do because you're taking up the slack for all these people who are out. So, that extra effort, sometimes, like I said, you come home, you're done. So, what can we do to, again, help in the community? Now, usually I come home, I live in a neighborhood. When I leave work, I come in, everyone's in their homes. So the sense of community is not what it used to be. So, as you said, that's something we really need to improve upon.
It's easy.
And probably having community type activities would definitely help that situation.
Yeah. You know what's even easier than a community activity?
Right.
Now, say what's easier?
Right.
Speak to somebody.
There you go.
How many of us know the person next door, the person that door right in front of you? The 5 houses that you see every day, the one to your right, to your left, the 2 across and 3 across the street that are just in your peripheral, in your eye line. If you don't know those people, you're tripping. Don't complain. If you don't know Mr. Jackson, Mr. Smith, Mr. Johnson, Miss Williams, and Miss Davis, it's your fault.
And these days it's kind of difficult because even sometimes when you're trying to introduce yourself, some people don't want to be bought. You know what I'm saying? So what do?
Just speak to them. See, don't speak with the
expectation.
With the expectation of somebody speaking back. Just hey, good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good night. Be safe. God bless you. And keep going.
That's true.
Somebody's going to say it back.
We get in our feelings, don't we?
Yeah. Somebody's going to say it back. And when you say it back, now it's 2 people speaking. Hey. And you know what? People going to walk in their house and go, man, first couple of days, it might be.
Brother Will, you see what Lucinda Baxter said, and that's what I was alluding to. She said you can hold on. I think it just went up.
Yeah, you can always have a virtual community forum. Yeah,
because people can be a little standoffish. And that's what I was alluding to earlier.
But just speak. Hello, gonna work every day. Hello. If you don't speak back, crack a joke about them in your head like I do. Your nose big anyway, and go in your house. Now you laughing. And then they're going to be compelled at some point to respond.
That's true. We get caught up in our feelings.
Indeed.
We do.
We do. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. And we just, look, embrace it. Don't do it with the expectation of a response. How you doing?
Chef Finest Wine said, I'd be like, why? And I will admit, Chef, I'm the same way. So I think that fear of rejection, speaking and then someone ignoring you, you're kind of sort of like, I don't know. There's a fear factor there. What Chef just said.
Yeah, but don't worry about why. Just, hey, how you doing? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how me and him met. Just we crossed paths.
that's
We've been
right.
cool ever since.
You see what Leslie said. Thank you, Lane and Brian. Everyone remember our blessed community in honor of MLK. Reese said, I do that all the time. My neighbor still doesn't speak. B Sugar said, I used to let that bother me, but not no more. Okay, so B Sugar is where I need to be.
Yeah.
Lucinda said, people are leery of others due to the pandemic. That part too, Lucinda.
But we weren't speaking. We weren't speaking in 2019.
Yeah.
Just say hello, good afternoon.
And Rock Just Living said she can't think of when it started to be this way.
Exactly.
That's thought provoking.
That's what I'm
Rock
saying.
Just Living. That's very thought provoking.
Man,
now you have me
we knew everybody. Your mama knew everybody in the world. So we gotta just stop. See, we be making these excuses. Oh, well, we see it's this. It's us. It's us. Because guess what? Hey, ladies, I ain't never been no person snatcher, but I know a lot of criminals. It's hard to rob somebody you know.
Right.
Now, if you got a drug problem, that's something different. But
that's a total different ball game.
When you know something, hey, how you doing? And you ain't got to be scared to speak and speaking because you're scared. Just speak because you're a human.
That's right.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you? And hey, and believe it or not, them young Thundercats on the corner. If you just say, hey, young man, they'll stop somebody from, hey, man, she speak every day. Knock it off.
Oh, yeah, true. Fact. You're right. You're right about that. You are absolutely right. And Rock Just Living, Chef said, facts, brother. Rock Just Living said, I speak and I do get aggravated when people don't speak back. It's something that I will never understand, and I can't think of when it started to be this way. Yeah, so I just read that. Chef said, I definitely don't let it bother me. Give them this to kiss. Did I say that? Well, Chef is a mess. Reese, it's all age groups that don't speak. Right, Reese? I mean, everyone. Rock Just Living said, it's definitely us. We're definitely a big part of our own problem. Rock, that part, girl. That part. Raider Kev, do within your heart. Don't let fear or other people affirmation define who you are. If you Raider, that's you're right.
Yeah.
We said, Chef, that's why I keep doing it, because I know it makes them mad, but I'm sending love anyway. That's right, Reese.
Amen.
That's the right attitude. Lucinda, hey, speak, be genuine. If they do not speak back, smile and say, have a great day. You will definitely change folks' perspective. They will pick up your positive energy. Okay, Lucinda, that's an excellent point.
Yes. We didn't got into, this is just my personal opinion. The more that integration thing, that's why this is the results of being in that burning house that Dr. King spoke about. We've taken on the personality and character traits of our oppressor. At one point, we ain't had nothing but you couldn't offer nobody anything but food and hello. And we just stopped doing both.
You're right. And when someone was sick, remember, if people in the community would cook.
There's some food over there.
And Brother Ken also, with students in college and universities, I advise for that as well. And everyone wants to go to the prestigious universities, and then I have to tell them there is nothing wrong with the HBCUs. I'm a product. Most of the successful African Americans in this country are products. And see, again, people won't read, people won't do research, and they assume, oh, you're Duke University, you're UNC. They're not offering a better education than you can get at North Carolina A&T State University or Winston-Salem State University or North Carolina Central University
or Morris Brown.
So I really get on my soapbox and I let them know. And I said at one point, so again, to the point you made earlier, since we can be admitted to these universities, now somehow they're better, and they're not.
Exactly.
Look at the graduation rates of African Americans at HBCUs and at those large prestigious universities, because the truth be told, they want you there because they have to have a certain minority count. So it's not about you, it's about numbers, sweetie.
How about this? If you don't believe what we're saying, this is what you do. It sounds like I'm inviting you to a party, but I'm not. I am, but I'm not. Go to a homecoming at an HBCU. Not for the pageantry, but what you're going to see is you're going to see me at an HBCU. You're going to see, if I had one, my wife went to a HBCU. Our children went to a HBCU, and our grandchildren are at a HBCU because we all came back to the homecoming.
That's right.
Yeah. Go your black behind over to Ohio State, Auburn, Alabama, or wherever you want to go. And this Fred, he the only brother that graduated from here.
And I don't know if you're familiar with what Deion Sanders is doing down at Jackson State. And when he took that job, I said, that's a game changer. And look at what's going on. He's getting the top recruits going to Jackson State. So God has him there for a reason. Because if I said that when he took that, I said, that's a game changer. Before, these top athletes, they didn't look at HBCUs.
Well, technically, he just hit the reset button because the dude who's known as the greatest defender in the NFL, this dude named David Deacon Jones, HBCU product.
I remember him from the Vikings.
Yeah. No, he played for the Rams. The
Deacon
greatest
Jones.
wide receiver ever, HBCU.
Jerry Rice.
Arguably the greatest running back ever, HBCU. They got rules called the Mel Blount rule of the National Football League. Mel Blount went to HBCU. This dude that's on Good Morning America every morning by the name of Michael Strahan.
Oh,
HBCU. Yeah. So
I think, like I said, there's a bit of an awakening. And I think Deion Sanders, Deion Sanders opened that door. And I think you're going to see more ex-athletes gravitate towards the HBCUs, and they're going to start drawing that talent back to the HBCU. Because like you said, we went into the burning house, right?
Mm-hmm. And we
you
got
see the results.
We got comfortable and getting burned. I got 3rd-degree burn, but I got a bandage. No, I don't want no more burns.
No, exactly. I don't need that.
Don't burn me no more. Like I told you, my grandfather said, don't stand
I
the
have
ass
a
kicking
major
machine with
issue.
quarters.
I tell students in a heartbeat, now, honey, I'll shut them down real quick, and I'll let them know, no, they're no better.
Well,
those universities are not better than
else for your
HBCUs.
students.
Go look at the number of doctors and of African-American doctors, lawyers. More than 90% of them come from
HBCUs. And how about this? It's 400 Black women architects in the United States of America. 99.9% of them come from HBCUs.
So what does that tell you?
That don't.
Exactly. So, and I tell my students, why are you going into all this debt when these universities are no better than the HBCUs? I said, in name, everyone, and that's another, like we said earlier, the prestige. I'm telling most of my students, depending on their financial situation, actually, to go to, a community college for 2 years and then transfer. You save so much money because the first 2 years of your college education is basic level courses. You don't get into your major until your junior year. So depending on how you doing, Catherine, depending on your financial situation, most of my students are military students. Their parents are in the military. But I tell them some, still, depending on how many siblings they have, that, what is it? GI Bill only goes so far. How you doing, Catherine? Thanks for coming, dear.
And then we need something else we need to teach our kids is apply for these scholarships.
Oh, yeah.
Apply for these scholarships. There are scholarships that you could write a 500-word essay and get $2,000. I know a woman who did that so many times that she literally had her twin daughter's education paid for when they graduate.
And let me tell you the issue with that. Sometimes it's just people don't want to take the time and the energy. So I'm also a co-advisor of a student organization at our school. And every year there are thousands of dollars left on the table that no one applies for. Free money. Mm-hmm. So, we've got to do a better job, of helping these young people. Look, you need to apply for this. I don't care if you do have to write an essay. So what? Do what it takes to get the money so you can go to school.
Mm-hmm.
You see. So
it is. I mean, Coke, McDonald's, just everybody offering money.
You
just have to reach out and
there's so much free money and they just leave it there.
Mm-hmm. United Negro College Fund.
Right. And I tell them,
NAACP. NAACP is so much money. There's
money no one applies for.
Nobody.
I said, you just like going into debt, huh? Right.
And then how about this, people? Academic scholarships are there too. You don't have to just be able to run, jump, throw, and catch, and flip, swim. And
right. And so again, we have to get the word out. That's something that I do. Like my seniors, I'll have them working on separate assignments, making sure they're applying for Pell Grants and things that I get them, make sure they're signed up on the College Fund website so they can just start applying, and I start working on them. Hey, you need to apply for this. You need to apply for that. Let's go. So that's what I do. And, again, if, you want me to come on any of your panels,
sure.
Let me know. I'm still reading the comments in the comment section. Okay. Thank you, Brian. Okay. We'll go ahead and close this down. We've been on here long enough. I just wanted us to come on and I'll show you some of the pictures I have of Dr. King here. So.
Yes.
And I got to get them framed. But Dr. King and Miss Coretta. Oh my God. And this is what I have hanging on my living room wall.
That's awesome.
Yes. So I just wanted to come on and honor Dr. King and Miss Coretta, really. So
that's something that's not done enough.
I've appreciated everything that they've done. We know there's still work for us to do. And I'll be texting you, Brian, when we get off of this live. And I'll be texting you and, just again, if you need me for anything,
what you doing Friday at 6?
Huh?
What you doing Friday at 6?
I'll be home relaxing.
Okay, why don't you be my next? I'm gonna bump somebody and have you be the next guest on Rapping with H-Rap.
That's fine. And just if you tell me what you want me to talk about.
You.
Okay.
You are the topic. We're going to talk about your childhood. We're going to talk about your upbringing. We're going to talk about your teenage years. We're going to talk about what you're doing now. And we're going to get the people who support me to support you.
Okay. You just let me know.
Friday at 6, the same link that you sent me. I'll be sending you one Friday. And I'm going to put your name on the promo. So you'll be on YouTube. And then we're going to do it. And we're going to get it done.
Right. That's fine. Whatever you need, I'll text you whenever you get off the live. I have thoroughly enjoyed this.
I am, me, Rated Kev, the dude from BS3 Network. This guy, he has a show called Grown Man Season. We are working together to get sisters and brothers together nationwide so we can stop this nonsense. I'm not accepting what we can't do anymore. What the great Marcus Garvey, and I said every week on my show, what the great Marcus Garvey said, what Africans have done, Africans can do.
Right.
So
I agree, and we'll definitely stay in contact. And I'm gonna get off and go to your channel, folks. Please, when we shut down the live, please go to Brother Williams' channel because that's where I'm going. I think Chef already dropped the link in the chat.
Okay, please. Thank you.
So I'm going to go over now and check it out.
Please
do. Leave you a comment so you know I'm there. That way YouTube won't unsubscribe me from your channel. I'll watch a video and leave a comment.
Amen.
Is that all right?
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed your wisdom. It was very informative. and I'll be texting you shortly.
I will.
Thank you, B Sugar. B Sugar just rang the bell. All right, we're good. All right, so enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you Friday. Everyone who's in the comment section, thank you so much. I enjoyed you, and I'll see you guys on Sunday. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.